Hello everyone, this is Mens here. I'm on the 8.4 test server, number 1, playing the Tier 9 British Heavy, or British Tank Destroyer Tortoise. I'm doing all this commentary live, so at times it might be a little bit difficult for me to talk and play at the same time. Basically, the Tier 9 Tank Destroyer, the Tortoise, is pretty interesting. It has a ton of armor, 125mm on the front and sides, and 152 on the rear, which makes it pretty heavily armored, only behind the T95. It does have 2,000 hit points, which is actually more than the Tier 10 Tank Destroyer that comes after this. And even though it has all this armor, it does pay for it with speed. It's capped at 20 kilometers an hour, which is by no means good. But it's still, it's basically, I like to refer to it as a faster T95 that has a DPM gun and trades a little bit of armor protection for the speed that it gains over the T95. As you can see here, even while moving, the 120mm gun is pretty accurate, and the aim time is a little bit over a second, so it's pretty good there too. Basically, it's similar to the gun on the Tier 9 and Tier 10 British heavy tanks, although it does gain a pretty decent amount of DPM. The base stats mark it right around 3,300 DPM, and right now you can see the reload is a bit under 6 seconds, which brings it close to 4,000 DPM, and this is with rammer, vents, and 100% crew. So Brothers in Arms will still bring this reload down more and give it more DPM. But it still remains to be seen how much of that it'll actually keep after all the test servers end. An often overlooked thing about TDs too is the gun traverse or arc. Basically the left and right movement. It's pretty good for a TD. It's not the best, but it's good. Gun elevation is not too great, and gun depression is pretty good, so it basically feels like an American tank gun depression wise. With this tank I do run optics as my third equipment slot, only because it's already pretty decently equipped to deal with being shot by arty with the thick armor, but it really needs to see people before they see it, so you can prevent people from basically people flanking you.
Like that one went right through.
This tank it's mobile. When I say mobile, it's not fast, but it definitely is able to turn and reposition pretty well in its general vicinity. And the accuracy, I have no complaints about it. It's basically pluses and everything. So I'm going to push up a little bit just to try to keep this a little bit more interesting. You definitely do have to worry about arty, even though you will soak up a bit of the damage due to the armor thickness, you're still slow, so you will be whacked by arty if you get caught out in the open a little bit too much.
That's gotta hurt.
See there, he penetrated right next to my gun, which doesn't really have much angle on it, so high penetration guns can go through it pretty easily. Holy crap, there's someone at our base. This sucks, but yeah, I definitely have to try to retreat out of here. Which definitely is a major downside. The speed, while good, it's basically low enough to where if a flank falls or someone gets in the base like that, heading back to make sure nothing drastically bad happens is pretty slow, so you really have to pick your spots. Here comes this T-62A.
We didn't penetrate their armor. Penetration. Our radio man is hit. Radio range has dropped. Looks like that one went right through. Track hit. We've lost some ammo, but at least it did.
As you see, he was basically shooting me in the general flat areas. Most likely he was using gold, which heat will tear this apart. He was hitting that right machine gun, which is weaker than the armor around it. And also, even if they don't, it's pretty flat, which means tier 10 guns can go through it pretty easily. Basically, the Tortoise, while it does have a lot of armor, you really want to stay semi-far away from tier 10s and even tier 9s with their top guns, only because its weak spots are pretty easy to hit at close range. So basically, you want to keep the engagements at over 100 meters away.
Track hit.
And as you can see on the tier 10 TD, that shot above the gun hit the mantlet. That's the main thick part on the TD. Basically under the mantlet there, on the bottom of the turret, that's still a weak spot. And even the cheeks of the mantlet are pretty weak, along with all the top section. So only the front part of that mantlet on the turret's strong for the tier 10, and then for the whole armor in the front, it's only that beak area where the two plates connect. Below that and also above it on the upper hull are pretty weak as well. So not the best game in the world, but it was decent enough. I didn't really lose many credits. I lost a little bit, but I did 1200 damage, and I received the potential of 3300 damage, which is decent. It is nice that they added this in so you can see how well a player does if they bounce a lot of shots or negate the damage done to them. So going over the tank a little bit more, I already touched on the pretty good hit pool, and then the speed and traverse are a little bit low. The whole armor is definitely great. I thought it was 152 on the rear, but it's actually 178, which is pretty good. That refers to this spot right here. As long as this is at least 178, if not the 225 on the sides. But right here, this section right here, that's sloped, even though it's pretty heavily angled, it's probably a lot thinner than the rest of the armor. As you see here, the view range is pretty good, even though it's a little bit low. It's still good enough that it's not too much of a problem, but I still like putting optics on, so I'm able to see people trying to flank me before it's too late. As you can see, the gun has pretty decent, I'll actually go to the ammo screen, pretty decent penetration. The gold rounds do cost 4,000, which will mean if you use a lot of them, you'll definitely lose a lot of money. But the penetration on them is very good, with 352, which is great. And the accuracy is 0.31, which is one of the best in the game, if not the best. And the aim time is also very good. So thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned for more from the 8.4 test server. Please subscribe to my channel and check out my website, wotguru.com.